Okay, so I got the the motor mounting plate off of the Autometric, and we're gonna start working on the guard. So I think I'm not gonna do a bunch of layout here. I think I can just trace all the elements that I need for the guard. So we're just gonna start. And so I got a nice straight edge here. I'm just gonna match that up with that straight edge. Leave a little bit to trim there for the radius. And I'm going to use this. This is a new felt pen or new marker that I got, and this is special for marking. It's for Kaizen organization stuff. When you have toolboxes and you line the toolboxes with foam and you want to insert the tools and things like that. They have these markers that have this long snout on them that can reach around the sides of tools in a vertical plane instead of trying to angle in underneath them and whatnot. And anyway, they're for template marking, and you know it's a felt pen, right? And it's got a big chisel one on the other end. So anyway, I bought a couple of these, and I've been wanting to try them out, and this looks like a perfect job because I can go in the holes real nice and straight, and you're not, well, a Sharpie won't work. So let's go for it here. Let's try some of these smaller holes. Oh yeah, nice mark down there. And it's, you know, since I'm holding it vertically, it's probably reasonably concentric. Well, enough for a guard, okay? Let's just put it that way. Yeah, getting a nice mark on it. Excuse my sniffles, get a little bit of allergies. Something's blooming that's not agreeing with me, so a lot of this, I'm just going to go around the whole thing just as you know, just good habit for reference to, so you're oriented with the world there. Let's make sure, the classic is you forget to mark something, so I think there's some oil in that one. I think there's a little bit of oil on the bottom one. Yep, there's a little bit of oil there, so let me mark those ones real quick. I'll center pop them and mark those so that they're good. So, okay, and then we're gonna nip this out on the Beverly shear and pop some holes so that we can line the motor up because the motor has some cutouts, and we'll see that in a minute. So. So I get this question fairly frequently. People ask me about these holes in this table, and they're kind of general purpose holes, and they don't have a specific use other than forming or whatever you happen to need a hole in a table for. Here's a good example. We pop these holes in here, but what I want to do is I want to stick this motor on here and use it. So I need a hole in the table, right? So we can do this. Let's see, like that, yeah. And I can line these up with a couple of fasteners, and it's just projecting through the table, but it's resting securely on the table too. So anyway, that's just one possible use of holes in your table. So anyway, I get that question a lot, so there's a good example there. All right, now I'm going to use my little, what do they call it? Oh, this thing, it's got a long nose pattern marker, and it's got this guy with this super long nose on his head. I don't know if there's any big advantage here. Let's see. You know, actually for this one, I think I want the normal Sharpie here. So what I care about are these little lugs here. That's what I really want to transfer. Yeah, this will work good. Because we're going to cut. Right. So if I look down on it, I know I'm at that the intersection there. I can see it pretty well. Like this, you know, I'm just going to trace around a bunch of it here. I made a bozo mistake here and here and here. I spotted those holes with this marker, and then like a dope I center punched them, but this is the outside of the guard, so now I got these frickin' stupid little marks on the outside of the guard. So I'll probably put a little drop of weld on there and just sand them off so it doesn't look too stupid. Anyway, see what happens when you're talking and trying to work? Okay. So let's go over on the Beverly shear. We're going to nip some of this out and keep going. All right. Let me introduce you to Beverly. So what I like to do, this is what they call a throatless shear, so I can do turns pretty easily on this. Yeah, there's an example there. Okay. What I like to do when I start is do just what I did there, is nip it fairly close to the line, because then it makes turning this a lot easier when you're in reasonably thick material. So that's what I'll do to start with, is just nip out, you know, rough it out, okay? Okay, and then same thing along here. So now I'm closer to my line, and now I can go back and concentrate on the more precision cut. So let's just go ahead and start this one here. And you can see I can just turn this just gently as I take another bite as I'm shearing. It's bandsawing without the noise. Okay, you can see the cut there. Okay, so let me do a little bit more, and then we'll come back and we'll start forming the actually the strip that goes around this, so that'll be fun. All right, so we're going to cut out this interior thing to fit around the motor here. So this is something, these really tight things like this you can't do on the Beverly shear. So we're just going to bandsaw that out because we can get up in there really easily with this. So, okay, eyes and ears, and let's go here. Hello, little bird. Yeah. Pesky little bugger. Now you see what I'm doing there? See, big noise, and if I lean against it, no, not as much. Bird's making more noise than I am. I think we need a name for that bird. I'm thinking Adam or Stan or Chuck. I don't know. It's Chuck the bird. That doesn't work, does it? Barry the bird. Adam the bird. I don't know. Gotta think of a name. All right. I think we're ready for a little check fit here. See how it looks. I'm just got a pen cap in my mouth. I'm just marking the spots that are touching, and I'll just take a little off of that so I can close up this little. Don't mark that. So I can close up this little gap here. It looks like it's hitting right there too. Okay, so I'll just take a little off of those, and then it'll scoot forward just a whisker. All right, let's see how that fits. All right, looks pretty good. I think OSHA will say that fails the finger test there. So, all right, next step. All right, well, this next part here, when the pulley's on here and this additional support nut that I made are on, it projects out a little bit beyond this plate. I want to cover up this hole with a little cover plate. But we have to put a little swell in the cover plate to clear this custom nut here. So I got we'll cut a circle out, and then we'll make a little a little temporary die here, and we'll create a little projection in the sheet metal. Then we can screw or drill and tap this and attach it. So let's go cut a circle and scrounge up some stuff and put a little forming die together, and then we'll make that little cover. All right. Double check, make sure I didn't bozo it. Yeah, okay, that looks good. Let's see. You know what? I'm not going to worry about it right now. Okay, so I'm going to Beverly shear this out, and then I scrounged up some bits here. I totally got lucky here. I had these laser cut the other day. They're bearing retainers, but they'll actually work good for this. So we're going to sandwich this disc between this and clamp it, and then this is a gasket out of something, I don't know what, and it happens to just work perfectly. And this will be our little forming deal, and we'll just press that down, and we'll get a little 1/4 inch offset. That's the thickness of this plate in our disc. So that should be fun. So let's cut out the circle, and then we'll put the squeeze on this. Trying not to make a big noise there, but oh So this thing produces some of the most evil stuff that drops on the floor, so you don't want to crawl around on your knees after, near the Beverly shear. Let's just put it that way. So this particular Beverly shear, so you can either talk or you can follow the line, right? This particular Beverly shear is a B3, and it's advertised that it has a cutting capacity of 3/16 steel. Now, I've done that before, but that was a long time ago. You got to pull pretty hard on the handle here to do that, but it will do it. Done miles of 11 gauge stainless on these things in my youth. I don't do that anymore. Okay, well, there's a circle. You know, I'll probably just deburr it and call it quits. And all right, so let's get our forming die set up and let's roll. Little clamp action on here. Alright, so I think we're pretty secure there. Come out of there. This is basically keeps the flange flat as you stretch that center section. So okay. Alrighty, let's go over to Le Arbor Press, and let's put the gronk on that. So I can't tell you how lucky I've gotten on this thing here. So I'll point out a couple of things. So this arbitrarily I had picked a 5-inch diameter, but these discs that I'm using here have a little laser engraved 5-inch circle on them, and it's just a mark for machining operation on these later on. I found this gasket that fits, which is amazing, right? And now I come up to the arbor press and I happen to have 5 openings, 5-hole pattern. Who the heck thought of that, right? That's me. But the bolts drop into there and this thing sits flat on there. This is just like meant to be, I think. So you know, this goes to show that sometimes you actually get lucky for all those times that you don't get lucky. So, okay, I think we're fundamentally ready here. Let's get that centered up. So the idea is we're just going to push that down into that. Actually, you know what? Let me flip it up so you guys can see. So there's our offset. So we're going to end up with a kind of a 45-degree, approximately, little projection sticking out the back. So at least that's the theory. All right. Okay. Contact. Oh yeah, there it goes. All right. Should be about it. Okay. And there it is. All right. Let's take it out of there and then we'll get a look at it. All right. That's the general idea there. Okay, looks pretty good. So I think I'm going to put some small holes in there so I can drill and tap that and put some little screws on there. And off Bob's your uncle. Okay, so I want to put some holes in this thing. I think I'm just going to put 3. And what I want to use is I want to use these nice, this is called a truss head. It's rounded, but it's kind of a large diameter. And we used to use these as panel screws, and they're just kind of nice. So let's go ahead and lay that out. Now, I had a little center punch mark, or excuse me, a little divider point on the opposite side that I scribed the circle with, but it's still there, so we're going to use that. I don't really care about the bolt circle. What I do care about is that this doesn't hang over the edge, that I have a little, you know, this is just good practice to have a little bit of meat there between the head of the screw and the edge of the plate. You don't want to be dead on it, and you know, you don't want to be a mile in either, so, you know, something that looks good. So, how about that? Let's just go back in our little divot there, and I'm just going to eyeball this kind of to the center of the screw. Okay, that looks pretty good. But then I'm going to convert it to what I call a humanoid number, right? Something that makes sense. So I'm pretty close to 2 1/4. So I'm just going to change the radius just a little bit so that I land on a humanoid number, right? Okay. And then I'll scribe a little circle. All right, and then for 3, all we do is just use the radius here. I really need my magnifier actually. And I always close the circle. I can find my other mark here. Where's that one? Where's the other one? Okay, maybe I didn't continue that on. And this serves as a little double check. And you can see there's a little offset. That's just me being a little bit careless going around that. But if I go in the center of that, I'll be pretty good. So I'm just going to use 3 of those, and to avoid a quote-unquote bozo mistake here, let's just pick 3. Okay, so, is that one? Yeah, looks like it. Okay. Half. Okay. Anyway, then I'll center pop those and punch a hole, and then Bob's your uncle. All right, so put that up there. I want to scribe a witness line or mark something. I don't know if you guys have seen this thing here. This is my little invention here. It's it holds a Sharpie. So let me stick a Sharpie in there like that, and you can snug it down. So don't tell me that's not handy, huh? Now I have a little mark that I put on here before. Let's see if we can squeeze in there. And there's a little center in the end of the motor there, so convenient. I'm not going to be able to make it all the way around, but I can get most of the circle there. That should be enough. And then now I have a kind of a witness line that's concentric that I can just kind of use as a guideline to mark these other holes here. So, okay. All right, so I don't think I'm going to show drilling and tapping those. That's pretty straightforward stuff. So we'll get that mounted and then finish up this guard